14 days before the wedding, I discovered my fiancé had written 107 entries in his love diary, but I wasn't the protagonist. At 1 a.m., I accidentally clicked on his secret blog. The first entry read, "If only I had walked towards you 3 years ago instead of her." The second read, "Her wedding dress was beautiful, but I can't forget your white dress." The third, I couldn't even finish reading it. He even decorated our windowsill according to her preferences. I screenshotted, saved, and packaged, and sent it all to both families' group chats. "Sorry, the wedding is canceled. I need to deal with some trash first." 1 minute later, the whole family was in an uproar, and the first thing he said to me when he called, "Honey, it was just creative writing. You misunderstood. If you were him, would you forgive him?"
Welcome to Airless's Romance Stories. Read the entire novel in one go. Message or comment to tell me what kind of story you'd like to read. Subscribe to the channel for daily updates. Airless reminds you, the story begins now.
3 years. 3 entire years of stolen glances at another woman while promising me forever. I discovered Marcus's secret blog at 1 a.m. on a Wednesday, the same night our wedding planner sent the final venue photos. While I was choosing napkin colors for our reception, my fiancé was writing poetry about someone else's eyes. The notification popped up innocuously. "People, you may know, Marcus Sterling." Marcus Sterling, my fiancé, the man who claimed social media was a waste of human potential. My finger hovered over his profile picture, a sunset photo I'd never seen before. Strange, Marcus despised social media. Or so he'd told me countless times when I suggested we post couple photos. "Our relationship is private, Charlotte," he'd say, kissing my forehead. "I don't need strangers validating what we have." I'd found it romantic then, principled. A refreshing change from my ex who'd documented every meal we shared. No, that principle felt like a red flag I'd been too naive to see. I clicked. I shouldn't have, but I did. The first entry, 3 years ago, held her hand today. Her fingers were cold, but all I could think about was that summer afternoon when you handed me that bottle of water. The condensation on the glass, the way your eyes caught the light. The attached photo was blurry, clearly taken without permission. A girl with a high ponytail, laughing in the sunlight, her profile illuminated in golden afternoon rays. Not me. I never wore my hair that way. My chest tightened. I recognized that day, our third official date. We'd gone hiking, and I'd complained about the heat. Marcus had been distracted the entire afternoon, checking his phone, his mind elsewhere. I'd blamed it on work stress. What a fool I'd been. My fingers went numb as I scrolled. Entry after entry, month after month. His parents adore me. They're pushing to set a date. If I'd had the courage that summer to walk toward you instead. That was written the night after our engagement party. I remembered Marcus had been quiet during the celebration, smiling mechanically at wishers. I'd squeezed his hand under the table, thinking he was overwhelmed by the attention. He'd squeezed back, a lie wrapped in a gesture. "Tried on wedding dresses today. She'd look stunning in a mermaid silhouette, but I keep remembering that white sundress you wore. Nothing compares to that effortless beauty." My breath caught. I'd been so excited that day, practically floating between racks of silk and lace. I'd chosen an A-line dress, elegant, timeless. Marcus had nodded approvingly but said little. His mother had done all the gushing. I'd thought he was just uncomfortable with wedding planning, that typical male detachment from wedding stuff. He hadn't been detached. He'd been comparing me to her. Chose a classic 6-prong engagement ring. He said it is simple and elegant. But if it were you, you'd probably prefer something with more edge, more personality. The ring on my finger suddenly felt heavy foreign. The designer submitted the third draft for our apartment. He wants modern minimalism. I secretly asked them to add a window seat, the kind you once mentioned loving. I looked up from my phone, my eyes landing on that exact window seat across our bedroom. The one Marcus had insisted on despite my protests that it didn't match our aesthetic. "Trust me," he'd said. "You'll love it eventually." I'd thought he was being thoughtful, planning for a future where I might change my mind. He'd been building a shrine, 107 entries. Every milestone of our relationship, meticulously documented alongside his obsessive, pathetic longing for another woman. That woman, Sunny Cat, was Vivian Chase. his college crush who never reciprocated his feelings, his untouchable white moonlight. I knew about her existence. Marcus had confessed before our engagement, calling it youthful foolishness, a dream I've long since woken from. We'd been at that Italian restaurant downtown, the one with the candlelit tables and soft jazz. He'd reached across the table, taking both my hands in his. "Charlotte, before I ask you to marry me, I need to be honest about something." My heart had stuttered. Was he going to confess he couldn't have children, that he had massive debt, a terminal illness? In college, I had feelings for someone, strong feelings. She never felt the same way, and it took me a long time to move on. Relief had flooded through me. Just an old crush. Everyone had those. "I wanted you to know," he'd continued, his thumb stroking my knuckles. "Because I never want secrets between us. That chapter of my life is closed. You are my present and my future." I'd actually found it endearing, proof of his sensitive soul, his commitment to honesty in our relationship. What a joke. The dream never ended. He just cast me as the leading lady in his elaborate performance of moving on, all while privately worshipping at the altar of his faded obsession. The ice sets in no hysteria, no tears, just a strange crystalline clarity. That is what surprised me most about my own reaction. I'd expected to break down, to scream, to throw things. That is what happened in movies, in books, in the dramatic relationship implosions I'd witnessed among friends. Instead, I felt nothing. Then everything, then nothing again. My heart felt stuffed with cotton soaked in ice water, heavy, cold, and utterly absurd. The absurdity almost eclipsed the anger and heartbreak I should have felt. I stood up from the couch, my phone still clutched in my hand, and walked through our apartment with new eyes. The throw pillows on the sofa, I'd chosen those, the abstract art on the walls, Marcus's pics, all in cool blues and grays. The kitchen with its high-end appliances that we'd argued about. I'd wanted butcher block counters. He'd insisted on marble. Every corner of this space was a negotiation, a compromise, a testament to two people trying to build a life together. Except one person had been building a life with someone else in his head. Here I was, Charlotte Hayes, 28 years old, earning twice his salary, owned my own condo and car in this expensive city. I agreed to marry Marcus Sterling because being with him felt easy, because our families approved, because it seemed stable. My mother had loved him immediately. He is so well-mannered, Charlotte, and the Sterling family such good standing in the community. My father had been more reserved but eventually won over. He is solid, reliable, won't give you the drama your last boyfriend did. Even my friends had approved, mostly. Emily had wrinkled her nose and said, "He is a bit boring, but maybe boring is good. Maybe that is what we all need in the end." Only my colleague Mia had looked skeptical. "I don't know, Hayes. He is almost too perfect. Like he is performing good boyfriend rather than being one." I dismissed her concern. Mia was cynical about men, always had been. No, her words echoed in my head. And I'd almost become a piece of scenery in his self-indulgent romantic tragedy. Revolting, absolutely revolting. The anger came then, not hot and explosive, but cold and surgical. I felt it crystallize in my chest, sharp and clean as broken glass. I screenshot everything with clinical precision, every single entry, from the first pining confession to the most recent. Venue confirmed, Rosewood Gardens. He loves the lawn there, but the person I wish I could stand beside under that white archway isn't you. He loves the lawn there. We, not Charlotte, chose it, and I agreed. He, as if I were a passive observer in my own wedding planning, as if my preferences were just background noise to his real interior life. I opened my Photos app and created a new album. Evidence. A bitter laugh escaped me. Evidence like I was preparing for court. Maybe I was. Then I opened our family group chat, the one buzzing with wedding preparations, filled with both sets of parents and various aunts and uncles. My thumb hovered over the screen. Once I did this, there was no going back. The knowledge would spread like wildfire. Both families would be pulled into the wreckage. Good, a cold voice in my head said. Let them see who he really is. 1:15 a.m. Perfect timing. The night owls were awake. The early birds were asleep. I uploaded every screenshot in one relentless stream, one after another. A digital avalanche of Marcus's secret life. Then I typed, my tone as casual as discussing breakfast. Dear family, I apologize for the late notice, but the wedding scheduled for the 15th is indefinitely postponed. I need to dispose of some personal garbage first. My finger trembled for just a second before I hit send. The message delivered with a soft whoosh, and then silence. The kind of silence that comes right before a bomb detonates. I set my phone face down on the coffee table and walked to the kitchen. With mechanical precision, I filled the kettle and set it to boil, opened the cabinet, selected chamomile tea. Ironic, choosing something meant to calm nerves when I felt nothing at all. My phone buzzed once, twice. Then it started ringing. The explosion had begun. Mom called first, her voice frantic. Charlotte, what is happening? What garbage? What about Marcus? Mom, did you read the screenshots? A pause. The sound of my mother's breathing, sharp and quick. Then clicking, she was scrolling. Another pause, longer this time. Then a sharp intake of breath. That absolute bastard. My mother's voice dropped to a register I'd never heard before, pure maternal fury. That absolute pathetic bastard. I am calling the Sterlings right now. No need. The facts speak for themselves. You and Dad get some rest. I'll handle this. Charlotte, sweetheart, are you? Her voice cracked. Are you okay? Do you need me to come over? I am fine, Mom. Really, I just need to be alone right now. But, Mom, please. Another pause. Then softly, okay, baby, but I am just a phone call away, anytime, day or night. I know, thank you. I hung up before she could say anything else, before the concern in her voice could crack the ice forming around my heart. Text flooded in. Marcus's mother sent voice messages, panicked, incoherent. Charlotte, sweetheart, you are misunderstanding. Marcus was just writing fiction, creative writing. He loves you. Creative writing fiction. That was going to be their defense. I almost laughed. He has always been so imaginative. You know that. Remember his poetry in college? He has always been dramatic. This is just... I muted the conversation before she could finish. My father's texts were shorter, more controlled. Charlotte, I've seen everything. Do you need me to handle the Sterlings? Your mother and I support whatever decision you make. That boy is lucky. I am not 30 years younger. Despite everything. That last text made me smile. Classic dad, threatening violence while maintaining plausible deniability. Marcus's texts had started coming in too, mixed with missed calls. Charlotte. What is going on? Why are you sending screenshots to everyone? Call me now. This is a misunderstanding. Those posts aren't what you think they are. Charlotte, please, let me explain. I watched the messages appear, one after another, with detached curiosity. Like watching ants scramble after someone kicks their hill. Then I called Marcus. He answered after several rings. Background noise loud, voice drowsy and irritated. Charlotte, it is late. What is wrong? I am working overtime. Working overtime. I glanced at his blog, updated 3 hours ago. A repost from Sunnycat about some obscure indie film with his comment. A true kindred spirit is rare. That ball of ice in my chest started seeping cold through my veins. Check the family group chat, I said flatly. Silence. Then rustling sounds. Fabric against fabric. The scrape of a chair. Then his breathing turned sharp and ragged. The background noise disappeared. He must have stepped outside or found somewhere private. Charlotte, listen to me. Those aren't. That is just creative writing. Fiction. You know, I was in the literary club in college. Creative writing. I repeated softly. My finger tracing the rim of my teacup. Interesting hobby. Marcus, pity. The cost is so high, you almost gambled away my entire life. No, Charlotte, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You've been in love with Vivian Chase for our entire relationship. You documented it meticulously. 107 entries worth of documentation. That is not. I am not in love with her. You compared me to her when I was trying on wedding dresses. My voice remained eerily calm. You thought about her when we chose my engagement ring. You redesigned our apartment to include features she mentioned liking, while planning our wedding. Marcus, our wedding. Charlotte, I am coming home. We'll talk face to face. Just wait there, please. Don't do anything else, please. Fine, come home. We'll talk. I am leaving now, 20 minutes. Just stay there. Don't. I hung up. The apartment felt different now, contaminated. Every surface Marcus had touched, every decision he'd made, now carried the ghost of another woman's preferences. I stood and walked into our bedroom, decorated in the cold, modern, minimalist style he'd insisted on, gray and white, sharp lines, expensive but soulless. I'd wanted warmth, wooden furniture, warm lighting, maybe some plants. Too cluttered, Marcus had said. We need clean lines, trust me, you'll learn to love it. Another lie masquerading as guidance. And that window seat he'd secretly added for her. I pulled my largest suitcase from the closet and began packing with methodical efficiency. Underwear, pajamas, work blouses and blazers, skincare, laptop charger, documents, property deeds, bank cards, legal papers, everything that belonged solely to me, organized with the precision of a project evacuation. My hands moved automatically, my mind elsewhere. I thought about all the small moments I'd dismissed, all the times Marcus had seemed distant or distracted, the night we'd made love and he'd kept his eyes closed the entire time. I am just tired, baby, he'd said when I asked about it. The time he'd blanked on my coffee order, despite me ordering the same thing for 2 years. Sorry, just stressed about work. The way he never wanted to take photos together. I just don't like how I look in pictures. Red flags I'd painted green in my mind. The furniture, the appliances, those were purchased with our joint wedding fund. Those would require careful division. But my personal belongings, I packed them with cold efficiency. When I zipped the suitcase shut and stood it upright, I heard frantic keys in the lock. 15 minutes. He must have driven like a maniac. Marcus burst through the door, hair disheveled, face ashen, forehead beaded with sweat. His shirt was half, untucked, jacket missing. He'd clearly left wherever he was in a panic. He saw the suitcase and his pupils contracted. Charlotte, don't do this. He lunged forward to grab my hand. I sidestepped smoothly, my body reacting before my brain could process. Don't do what? I looked up at him, my expression almost cruelly amused. I am just making room, so you can continue your creative writing. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. His voice cracked, raw and desperate. Sometimes I just got nostalgic, that is all. I love you, I want to marry you, I'll delete that account right now. He fumbled for his phone, hands shaking so badly he could barely hold it. The screen lit up his face. I could see tears streaming down his cheeks. Look, he held the phone toward me, fingers trembling over the delete button. Look, I am doing it right now, see, it is gone, it is, no need. My voice was quiet but final. I bent down and retrieved a manila envelope from beside the suitcase, handing it to him. What? What is this? He took it, confused, still clutching his phone in his other hand. I compiled your blog posts for you, I said evenly, like discussing a work assignment, organized chronologically, fixed the typos, even wrote you a foreword analyzing your creative journey. Marcus pulled out the printed pages with trembling hands. The title page stared back at him in bold black font. The Woman I'll Never Marry by Marcus Sterling bonus chapter. The Wife Who Got Away, a reel. Life epilogue, his face drained of all color. His lips trembled as he stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. And maybe he was. Maybe he'd never actually seen me at all, too busy superimposing Vivian's ghost over my features. Charlotte, you. His throat made a choking sound, like something had cut off his air. The pages slipped from his fingers, scattering across the floor. You are welcome. I pulled up the handle of my suitcase, wheels rolling smoothly across the floor. Copyright's yours, after all. It is your dream. I walked past him toward the door. Charlotte, you can't leave. We're getting married. The invitations are out. The deposits are paid. His voice behind me was raw with desperation. I heard him scramble to follow, papers crunching under his feet. I stopped at the door without turning around. Send me an itemized list of the financial losses. I'll pay my share, every cent. I paused, my hand on the doorknob. As for the wedding, try contacting Sunnycat. Maybe she'll agree to be your backup bride. Charlotte, please, please. I opened the door and walked out. I love you. The words echoed in the hallway, bouncing off cold concrete walls. I didn't turn around. The motion sensor hallway lights flickered on, guiding my path like runway lights. Behind me, I heard his broken sobbing, the sound of fists hammering against the doorframe, the sound of printed pages hitting the floor. The elevator doors slid shut, sealing away the wreckage. My reflection stared back at me in the cold metal walls. No tears, just absolute crystalline clarity. And underneath that clarity, something else stirring, something that felt suspiciously like relief. Outside, the early summer night breeze hit my face, sweeping away the last traces of suffocation. The world felt different. Sharper. More real. Streetlights cast orange pools on the sidewalk. A couple walked past, hands linked, laughing about something. A taxi honked in the distance somewhere. A dog barked. Normal life, continuing as if my entire world hadn't just shattered and reformed. My phone buzzed. His mother again, relentless. 35 missed calls from Marcus's mom he didn't answer. I looked up one last time at the window where the light still burned, where a man sat among the ruins of his delusions surrounded by his shredded fantasies, and a wedding that would never happen. Did I feel terrible? Number, I felt free. The rideshare pulled up within minutes, a black sedan with soft ambient lighting inside. The driver helped load my suitcase into the trunk. Late night move? He asked conversationally. Something like that. I slid into the back seat as soft instrumental music played. Jazz, appropriately melancholic, but somehow soothing. I leaned back and closed my eyes. No heartbreak, no devastation. Just a weightless sensation, like cutting loose from an anchor. Ending a wrong relationship didn't feel like falling, it felt like flying. I opened my group chat with my best friends, the ones I'd neglected during wedding prep, and typed. Ladies, I am officially single again. Drinks tomorrow, my treat? The chat exploded instantly. What happened? Emily, did that bastard Marcus cheat? Mia, I am available whenever. Want me to key his car? Sophie, OMG, Charlotte, are you okay? Jenny, I smiled. The first genuine smile of the night. Long story, we'll explain tomorrow. I am fine. Better than fine, actually. You sound scary calm. Should we be worried? Emily, I've never been more clear-headed in my life. That is my girl. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., the Rose. I'll book us a private room, Mia perfect. I still had my career, my money, friends who'd drop everything to curse out men with me over cocktails. This, not a loss. The car glided smoothly along the elevated highway, city lights streaming past like liquid gold. Buildings rose like luminous monuments to possibility, each lit window a life, a story, a choice being made. Somewhere in one of those buildings, Marcus was probably still crying, still trying to call me, still trying to find a way to undo what he'd done. But you couldn't unwrite 3 years of truth. You couldn't unsee what had been revealed. I rolled down the window and let the wind rush in, tangling my hair, stinging my eyes in a way that felt cleansing. My life philosophy has always been, better to walk alone with clarity than stumble forward in delusion. Compromise myself to fulfill someone else's fantasy. Sorry, I was born failing that particular test. Even the most tedious aftermath was infinitely better than waking up every day next to a man who was mentally and emotionally unfaithful, who saw me as nothing more than a consolation prize. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Charlotte, this is Vivian Chase. Someone sent me screenshots of Marcus's blog posts about me. I am horrified, and so sorry you were hurt by his delusions. For the record, we were never close. I barely knew him in college. If there is anything I can do to help your situation, please let me know. You deserve so much better. I stared at the message for a long moment. Even she pitied me. The woman who'd unknowingly haunted my relationship felt sorry for me. I typed back, "Thank you for reaching out. You have nothing to apologize for. His obsession was his choice and his problem. I hope he never contacts you again. If he does, please file a police report." Her response came quickly, "Already have one drafted just in case. Take care of yourself." You are clearly a strong woman. You too. I turned my phone to airplane mode and let my head rest against the cool window. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Rum night, actually," I said, surprising myself. "It is the best night I've had in 3 years." At 1:15 a.m., the moment I pressed send, the gears of fate began to turn in reverse. Messages in the family group chat, like boulders thrown into a calm lake, quickly rippled into towering waves. By the time I reached my old apartment, the one I'd kept but rented out after moving in with Marcus, the chat had 287 unread messages. Missing calls. Mom 15 missing calls. Marcus's mom 22. Missing calls, Dad 8 missing calls. Marcus 43. My phone screen flashed incessantly like a Christmas tree, the vibrations particularly jarring in the quiet night. I calmly sent the same message to every important contact. "I am fine. Screenshots explain everything. Let's talk tomorrow." Then I turned off my phone, poured myself a glass of red wine from the bottle my tenant had left behind, and sat by the floor, to ceiling window gazing at the city lights. This apartment felt like stepping into a time capsule, back when I was Charlotte Hayes, unattached, ambitious, complete unto myself. The furniture was mine, chosen by me alone. The art on the walls reflected my taste, not a compromise. The air smelled neutral, not like Marcus's expensive cologne. Somewhere across the city, Marcus's apartment lights were still on. I couldn't see it from here, but I could imagine his terror. The ever calm, self-possessed, and all-controlling Marcus Sterling had truly lost control for the first time. Ironically, for 3 years I thought I understood him. It turns out I only understood the version he wanted me to see, the version he'd carefully curated, edited, performed. I wondered if he'd even known he was performing, or if he'd convinced himself so thoroughly that he believed his own act. I sipped my wine and watched the city breathe. Cars flowing like blood cells through arterial streets. Windows blinking on and off as people went about their private lives, completely unaware that mine had just detonated and reformed. Tomorrow, I'd deal with the wreckage. Tonight, I'd just be free. At 6 a.m., I turned my phone back on. The screen came alive like a dam breaking 287 unread messages. 53 missed calls. I made coffee first, strong and black, the way I liked it before Marcus convinced me to add cream and sugar. "It is so harsh that way," he'd said. "Let me teach you to appreciate the subtle flavors." I'd let him. I'd let him teach me, reshape me, sand down my edges, no more. I sat cross-legged on my old couch, the one Marcus had called shabby and unfit for entertaining, and methodically browsed through the messages, categorizing them: relatives, shock, gossip, demands for explanation, friends, concern, anger, support Sterling's family, panic, explanations, accusations. Marcus, desperation, Emily, had sent 15 messages, escalating from concern to fury. "Charlotte, answer your phone. I swear to God, if something happened to you finally saw the family chat. That motherfucker, where are you? Are you safe? Oak, you said drinks tomorrow, so you must be alive. But seriously, text me when you wake up or I am calling the cops." He smiled and replied, "Alive, free. See you tonight." My father's messages were characteristically controlled. "Your mother is very upset." "Not at you," called Richard Sterling. "He is shocked and devastated." "Sure. Marcus has been trying to reach me. I am not answering." "I am proud of you, Charlotte." Takes courage to walk away. My mother's messages were more emotional. "Baby, are you somewhere safe?" I never liked how he looked at other women. Should have said something. "Your grandmother called. She says, good riddance to bad rubbish. Call me when you wake up. I love you so much." Marcus's mother had sent a novella. "Charlotte, sweetheart, please, let's talk about this rationally." Marcus has always been sensitive. You know this. Those blog posts were clearly just fantasy, not reality. Think about what you are throwing away. The wedding is in 2 weeks, the deposits. You are being very selfish and impulsive. Our families have been friends for 30 years. That last message made me laugh out loud. A sharp, bitter sound in the quiet apartment. Selfish. I was being selfish. Not Marcus, who'd conducted an emotional affair with a fantasy woman throughout our entire relationship. Not Marcus, who'd lied and performed and gaslit me into thinking I was the center of his world. Me for having standards. I deleted her messages without responding. Marcus's own messages were marked separately, a timeline of his disintegration. Charlotte, please give me a chance to explain. 1:47 a.m. I am coming to you now. You must wait for me. 2:03 a.m. Charlotte. I am downstairs. Please open the door. 2:35 a.m. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please don't do this. 3:18 a.m. I'll wait here until you reply. 4:02 a.m. The last one was at 5:47 a.m. Charlotte. I will prove to you that the person I love is you. Please give me another chance. I stared at the sentence. The person I love is you for a long time. If he truly loved me, why did he imagine Vivian in a white dress when choosing our wedding gown? If he truly loved me, why didn't he write the person I most want to stand side with under the white archway isn't? You on the day we finalized our wedding venue. Love isn't just words. Love is reflected in every choice, every moment, every genuine thought. And every single one of his thoughts was for Vivian Chase. I set my phone down and looked around my old apartment, my sanctuary now reclaimed. The morning light filtered through windows that faced east, catching dust motes and golden beams. This place was smaller than Marcus's apartment, less trendy, less impressive. But it was mine. Only mine, and that made it perfect. At 9 a.m., my parents' car pulled up downstairs at my apartment building. I'd texted them the address. My mother had been surprised. I didn't know you still had this place. Insurance policy, I'd replied. Guess I knew somewhere deep down. My mother, her eyes red and puffy, rushed up and hugged me tightly. Charlotte, my darling, you've suffered so much. I am okay, Mom. Really? She pulled back, studying my face with the intensity only mothers possess. You don't look okay? You look free? She blinked, then slowly nodded. Yes, free. My father stood behind, his face ashen, a tablet still in his hand. Clearly, he'd reviewed those screenshots again, probably multiple times, cataloging Marcus's betrayal with legal precision. That bastard. My father's voice was low and furious. I already called Richard Sterling this morning. His whole family is waiting at home, demanding an explanation. Richard Sterling, Marcus's father, my father's college roommate, a family we'd known for 30 years of friendship, evaporated in a single night. No need to go, I said calmly, pouring coffee for both of them. There is nothing to explain, the facts are clear. But Charlotte, my mother hesitated, taking the mug with both hands. The Sterlings are, after all, family friends. This matter has blown up so much. All the wedding guests have been invited, many of them your father's business partners, and our relatives and friends. There it was, the real concern. Not whether I was hurt, but how this looked. I saw my mother's worry. She was afraid I would be gossiped about, afraid people would say I was willful, impulsive, and didn't give the groom a way out. This is society's discipline of women, even if hurt. They must consider the bigger picture and end things with dignity. Must think about everyone's feelings except their own. Mom, I grasped her hand, noting how cold it felt. If I compromise now and force myself to marry him, the real tragedy would be spending the next 30 or 50 years with a man whose heart belongs to someone else. Then people won't sympathize with me for why I married him. They'll just say, "Who told you to choose this yourself?" My mother's eyes filled with fresh tears. And anyway, I continued, my voice hardening, I don't care what people say. Let them gossip. Let them judge. I'd rather be called the woman who walked away than the woman who settled. Dad set down his tablet and pulled me into a rare hug. You are right, Charlotte. It is your decision. Dad's only request is, don't compromise yourself. His voice was gruff, thick with emotion he'd never been good at expressing. Never again, I promised. Mom's tears welled up again, but this time with relief. My daughter has always been the smartest and most independent. Mom supports you. We sat together in comfortable silence for a while, drinking coffee, watching the city wake up through my windows. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. You should know, Richard called me at 6 a.m. Marcus apparently had some kind of breakdown last night. He has been. I don't want to know, I said quickly. Too quickly, Dad studied me. Charlotte, it is natural to still care about someone even when they've hurt you. I don't care about him, I said. but my hands tightened around the coffee mug. I just don't want his pain to become my responsibility. I am not his therapist. I am not his salvation story. Good, Mom said firmly. You've carried enough. We sat in silence for another moment before Dad's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. Richard again. He is asking if we can all meet, both families, to discuss the situation like adults. I felt that familiar pressure building, the weight of propriety, of maintaining relationships, of not making things messy. Tell him no, I said. Tell him to have his lawyer contact mine. Dad's eyebrows rose. You've already contacted a lawyer. I texted Sophia at 2 a.m. She is drafting everything today. My mother looked at me with something between pride and sadness. When did you become so prepared? When I realized I'd been unprepared for 3 years. At 2 p.m., the Sterling family's lawyer sent me a document. Wedding cancellation negotiation plan. I opened it on my laptop, Sophia video, calling in from her office to review it with me. Okay, let's see what bullshit they're trying to pull, Sophia said. Her red framed glasses perched on her nose as she pulled up the same document on her screen. I quickly skimmed through it and let out a cold laugh. The core of the proposal was moan. The wedding would be postponed rather than canceled, with the official explanation being that both parties need more time to prepare. 2. The deposits and down payments already made would be split equally between the parties. 3. Marcus would issue a public apology and promise to remove all inappropriate content. 4. The couple would reconsider the wedding date after appropriate cooling off. Are they serious? Sophia's voice was incredulous. They want you to pretend this is just cold feet, apparently? Charlotte, this is insulting. They're trying to protect his reputation at the expense of your truth. I know. So what do you want to do? I thought about it for a moment. The easy path would be to take the deal, split the costs, issue some vague statement, fade quietly into the background of my own life. That is what a good woman would do. That is what would keep the peace, maintain the friendship between families, avoid uncomfortable questions at dinner parties. But I'd spent 3 years being the good woman Marcus wanted me to be, accommodating, understanding, patient with his quirks and sensitivities. Look where that got me. Counter. Offer, I said. I want full transparency, a clear statement that this was due to his documented emotional infidelity, and I want him to cover 70% of the wedding costs. Why 70%? Sophia asked, already typing. Because I would have been 100% committed to this marriage. He was, at best, 30% present. I am being generous. Sophia grinned. I love working with you. Okay, I'll draft this and send it over. Anything else? Yes. I want a formal agreement that he'll never contact me again, except through legal counsel. No calls, no texts, no showing up at my workplace. Consider it done. After we hung up, I stared at my laptop screen, at the cursor blinking in an empty document I'd opened. Without really thinking about it, I started typing. Things I ignored because I wanted to believe in us. The way he never looked at me, the way he looked at his phone. How he always had an excuse when I wanted to take photos together. The night he called me Vivian during sex and then claimed he'd said, Vivid, his refusal to add me on any social media platform. The window seat, the wedding dress incident. Every time he was working late. But his blog was updated. The way he flinched when I touched him without warning. Like I was interrupting a private thought. How he never asked about my day, my dreams, my fears. The fact that I always felt like I was performing girlfriend rather than being one. I stopped typing, my vision blurring. This was the real list. Not the dramatic blog posts or the smoking gun evidence, but the 1,000 small cuts that I'd explained away, rationalized, forgiven. The death by 1,000 compromises. I closed the document without saving it. Some truths didn't need to be preserved. They just needed to be acknowledged. 3 days later, my legal team completed all the preparations. We sent a formal notification to the 258 guests who had already received wedding invitations. Formal notice of wedding cancellation to our dear friends and family. It is with great regret that we inform you that the wedding of Miss Charlotte Hayes and Mr. Marcus Sterling, originally scheduled for the 15th of this month, has been formally canceled after careful consideration due to the groom's serious emotional infidelity. Specifically, during his relationship and engagement with the woman, The man continuously documented his feelings for a third woman on online platforms for 3 years. The content included fabricated details of their shared life and genuine emotional attachment to another woman. This behavior severely violated the foundation of their relationship and constitutes de facto emotional betrayal. After evaluation by an independent legal team, the woman believes that the foundation of their marriage has been completely destroyed, and continuing the engagement would cause her long-term and irreversible emotional harm. The woman will pursue legal action and demand a reasonable sharing of all economic losses caused by the man's actions. Thank you for your continued concern and support. The woman will no longer accept any mediation or pleas for leniency in this matter. Your understanding is appreciated. Wishing you all good health. Charlotte Hayes, May 8, 2024. This notice was carefully worded and resolute, protecting my privacy by not publishing the blog content directly while clearly stating my position, no reconciliation. Sophia had wanted to include excerpts from the blog. Really drive the point home, she'd said, but I'd refused. I don't need to humiliate him publicly. The facts are enough. You are nicer than I would be. I am not being nice. I am being strategic. If I look vindictive, people will focus on my reaction instead of his actions. Within 24 hours of issuing the notice, my phone was ringing off the hook. What surprised me most was that the voices of support far outweighed the criticism. My cousin messaged me, "Charlotte, you did the right thing. This kind of man deserves to be exposed." My college best friend Emily's sister, "I'll always stand by you. Should I go beat him up?" Even some of Marcus's friends contacted me privately, Miss Hayes. We've actually suspected Marcus's obsession with Vivian was abnormal for a while. It is good that you noticed in time. He used to talk about her constantly in college. We thought he'd gotten over it. Guess not. You dodged a bullet. Seriously. But there were other messages too. Darker ones. Marcus's mother sent a long, rambling email that started with, "How could you do this to our family?" and ended with, "You'll regret this when you are alone and childless at 40. An aunt I barely knew, "You young women today have no concept of commitment. Marriage is work. You can't just throw it away." A business associate of my father's, James, "I hope you can control your daughter. This is embarrassing for everyone involved." I read each message with detached interest, like studying specimens under glass. These people were showing me exactly who they were, and I was grateful for the clarity. Only the Sterling family was still making a last-ditch effort, their lawyer sending increasingly desperate counteroffers. Fay 60 divided by 40 split of costs. Fay private apology instead of public statement. Fay 6-month trial separation. Before final cancellation, each offer I rejected without hesitation. They're panicking, Sophia told me over the phone. Marcus's reputation is taking a hit. Apparently some of his clients are reconsidering their contracts. Good, I said, and meant it. 5 days after the wedding was canceled, Marcus finally found me. Not downstairs at my apartment, not at my office, but at my favorite private gym. The one I'd mentioned exactly once in passing. 6 months ago, he had clearly been staking me out for days, learning my patterns, waiting for his moment. When I pushed open the locker room door and saw him sitting on a bench at the end of the hallway, my first instinct was to call security, but his appearance made me stop. Marcus looked 10 years older. His usually meticulously styled hair hung limply, unwashed and disheveled. A bluish stubble covered his chin. Marcus, who never went more than 2 days without shaving. His eyes were bloodshot, sunk deep in their sockets, ringed with dark circles. His suit, usually crisp and perfectly tailored, was wrinkled as if he'd slept in it for days. Most terrifying was his gaze, empty, desperate, broken, like a man who'd lost everything and was still trying to figure out where it had all gone wrong. Charlotte. His voice was hoarse, almost unrecognizable, raw from crying or shouting or both. Please, just 5 minutes. Let me talk for 5 minutes. Part of me wanted to walk away, to call security, to maintain my boundaries, to refuse him even this small mercy. But another part, a part I wasn't proud of, was curious what he could possibly say, what explanation could justify 3 years of lies. I glanced at my watch. 3 minutes. This isn't the place to talk. Relief flooded his face so completely that he actually swayed, catching himself against the wall. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. We went to a coffee shop near the gym and chose a corner seat away from the windows and other customers. Marcus ordered 2 coffees, my usual order, which he apparently still remembered, but didn't drink a drop. His hands shook as he wrapped them around the cup, like he needed something to hold on to. I sipped mine and waited, let him fill the silence. Say it, I began when he didn't speak. 3 minutes. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His Adam's apple bobbed violently, and his eyes instantly reddened with fresh tears. His voice seemed to be squeezed from the depths of his throat. Charlotte, I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. He stopped, struggling. Those blogs, those words, they're not my whole world. I looked at him coldly, without replying, without giving him anything. I admit, I had fantasies about Vivian. After she rejected me in college, I never truly let go. Marcus's tears finally fell, tracking down his gaunt cheeks. But Charlotte, for the past 3 years, I've really been trying to forget her, trying to love you. The word trying landed like a stone in still water, trying, as if love was homework, an assignment he'd been working to complete. Those blog posts were like self-therapy, he continued, his voice breaking. I wrote down those lingering thoughts to clear them, to allow myself to be wholeheartedly with you. I thought that as long as I wrote them down, they would disappear. I thought that as long as I tried hard enough, I could make myself worthy of you. He looked up, his eyes pleading, desperate for understanding. Charlotte, I was wrong. I shouldn't have dealt with my past that way. I shouldn't have let you see those things. But my feelings for you are real, and my desire to marry you is real. 3 minutes were up. I stood, the legs of my chair scraping against the floor. Marcus, do you know? Every word you just said proves that my decision was right. He froze, his expression shifting from hope to confusion to dawning horror. You said those blog posts were your psychotherapy, to clear your thoughts of her. I leaned down to look at him, saying each word carefully, precisely, like placing stones to mark a grave. But Marcus, truly loving someone doesn't require effort. True love isn't about writing in your diary every day to convince yourself not to think about her. If you truly wanted to marry someone, you wouldn't think she looks better in a white dress when choosing a wedding dress. You wouldn't write the person I most want to stand beside under the arch, isn't you, when booking the wedding venue? His face had gone completely white, lips trembling. Marcus, every effort you make reminds me, I am your second choice, your compromise, your second best option, the woman you settled for when you couldn't have the one you wanted. So thank you for your honesty. It makes me even more certain. I picked up my gym bag, slinging it over my shoulder. Canceling this wedding was the best decision I've ever made. I turned and left. Behind me came Marcus's suppressed sobs and the sound of his fist slamming on the table. Once, twice, 3 times. Each impact louder and more desperate than the last. The other customers in the cafe turned to look, but I didn't turn back. I pushed through the door into bright afternoon sunlight, the warmth on my face feeling like absolution. Some wounds cannot be healed by apologies. Some relationships cannot be salvaged by effort. And some people will never understand what they've lost until it is gone completely. For the next month, Marcus Sterling seemed like a different person. These stories reached my ears through various channels, mutual friends, colleagues, even strangers sending me private messages on social media. Each one was a data point in Marcus's spectacular unraveling. Week 1, the drinking Marcus started drinking heavily. Every night he would go to Noir, the cocktail bar we used to frequent together, sitting alone in the same corner booth where we'd celebrated my promotion. The bartender, Tony, who knew us both, posted about it on his Instagram story. I didn't follow him, but Emily did, and sent me screenshots. Regular customer going through something rough, comes in every night, orders mojitos until we cut him off. Always staring at his phone. Ladies, hold your men accountable. Don't let them become this. The comments were a mix of sympathy and speculation. Is this about that canceled wedding, the blog guy? Bro needs therapy, not alcohol. I know him. He is that architect, right? This is while Tony messaged me directly a few days later. Hayes, I don't know what happened between you two, but Marcus is in bad shape. He keeps saying I ruined it all and crying into his drinks. Should I call someone? I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Call his father. Not my responsibility anymore. Fair enough. For what it is worth, you always seemed too good for him anyway. Week 2, the stalking Marcus started appearing outside my office building. Not approaching. He was smart enough to know that would give me grounds for a restraining order. But present. Visible, waiting. He'd stand in the coffee shop across the street, ordering drink after drink he never finished. His eyes locked on our building's entrance through the glass window. My colleague Mia spotted him first. "Hayes, that man is so pitiful," she said, arriving at my desk one morning with her latte. "The way he looked at you when you walked past. God, like you were his whole world." "If I really were his whole world, he wouldn't have written those diary entries," I said, not looking up from my spreadsheet. "True, but still, he looks rough." I finally glanced up at her. "Mia, whose side are you on?" She held up both hands. "Yours, always yours. I am just saying, as an objective observer, the man is suffering." "Good," I said coldly, and returned to my work. But that night, leaving late after a client call, I saw him. Still there, still waiting. Our eyes met through the window. He stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over his table. I watched him mouth my name, saw him reach for the door. I turned and walked the other direction, taking the long way to the parking garage. When I glanced back, he was still standing there. One hand pressed against the window, the other hanging uselessly at his side. For just a moment, just a fraction of a second, I felt something twist in my chest. Not regret, not love. Just waste. The waste of 3 years, the waste of potential. The waste of who we could have been if he'd been present, if he'd been real. Then the feeling passed, and I kept walking. Week 3. The professional collapse, the Sterling family business started to run into problems. Not because of my revenge, I didn't have the energy, nor the inclination to sabotage him. I had my own career to manage, my own life to rebuild. It was because Marcus himself was collapsing from within. His father, Richard Sterling, told my father at a golf game. A scheduled match they'd had booked for months and couldn't easily cancel without admitting the depths of the family rift. "James, I really don't know what to do," Dad recounted to me that evening, sitting at my kitchen counter while I made dinner. "Richard says, Marcus is like a zombie now. The company lost millions on 3 important projects because of his mistakes." I flipped the salmon in the pan, not responding. "He locks himself in his office staring at your picture. When Richard went in the other day, Marcus was writing letters to you. Dozens of them. But he hasn't dared to send a single one." "Good thing," I said. "If he had, he'd be violating our legal agreement." Dad was quiet for a moment, watching me plate the fish with precise, controlled movements. "Charlotte, are you really not at all soft-hearted?" I set down the spatula and turned to face him. "Dad, if I had kept a 3-year, long online journal of my unrequited love for my ex-boyfriend, documented every milestone of my relationship with Marcus while pining for someone else, would Marcus have forgiven me?" My father was silent. We both knew the answer. No. Marcus Sterling was a proud man. If the roles were reversed, he would be even more ruthless than I was. He would have ended it immediately, publicly, without a second thought. He would have called me names, questioned my character, made sure everyone knew exactly what I'd done. Then why should he expect my forgiveness? I asked quietly. Dad reached across the counter and squeezed my hand. "You are right. I hate seeing you hurt." "I am not hurt, Dad. Not anymore. I am just done." Week 4, the confrontation, the most dramatic thing happened when Marcus went to see Vivian Chase. I learned about it from 3 different sources, each with their own perspective on the spectacular public meltdown. According to Vivian's friend Rachel, who posted a detailed thread on Twitter that went semi-viral, Marcus waited outside the advertising agency where Vivian worked for an entire day. From 9 a.m., when she arrived, until 6:30 p.m. when she finally left. Security had asked him to move twice. He'd complied, walking to the coffee shop next door, then returning to the building entrance once they left. When Vivian finally saw him after work, her first reaction was to pull out her phone. "Mr. Sterling, I've already had my lawyer send you a cease and desist letter," Vivian said, loud enough for the gathering crowd to hear. "If you keep showing up like this, I can sue you for stalking." According to multiple witnesses, Marcus suddenly dropped to his knees. right there, in the street. In his expensive suit, on the dirty sidewalk outside a downtown office building during rush hour. People immediately took out their phones to film. "Vivian, please. Please tell Charlotte that I have no feelings for you anymore," Marcus cried, his voice carrying. "Those blogs were all my delusions, all wishful thinking. You never gave me hope, did you?" Vivian's expression shifted from shock to disgust. "Mr. Sterling, get this straight. There is nothing between us, never has been, and never will be. As for you and Miss Hayes, that is your own problem. Don't drag me into it." She turned to leave, but Marcus grabbed at her ankle, not aggressively, but desperately, like a drowning man reaching for driftwood. "Please," he sobbed. "Just tell her. Tell her you mean nothing to me. Tell her she is everything. Tell her—" "Get off," Vivian said sharply, shaking her leg free. "Marcus, you are not well. You need help, professional help. And—" Vivian took a step back, her voice turning ice cold. "If you harass me again, I'll not only call the police, but I'll also expose everything you've done to me over the years. All the accidental run-ins. All the messages you sent that I never answered. All the times you showed up where you knew I'd be. Then you might lose not only Miss Hayes, but also your reputation and career." With that, Vivian turned and left, heels clicking sharply against pavement, leaving Marcus kneeling alone in the street. Security finally approached, helping him up, or rather forcibly removing him from the premises. That video exploded on social media within hours. The headline: "Rich architect has public meltdown over unrequited college crush. Lost fiancé." The comment section was ruthless. "Is this the legendary the one that got away syndrome? Poor ex, fiancé. Imagine almost marrying this disaster. Men really don't cherish what they have, always chasing some fantasy. This is actually sad. He needs psychiatric help. Engel, this is manipulative AF, using public humiliation to try to win her back. Toxic Emily sent me the link with one word: yikes. I watched the video once, just once. Seeing Marcus on his knees, broken and desperate, should have made me feel something, victory. Maybe. Or vindication. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired of being part of his drama. Tired of my name attached to his breakdown. Tired of people watching my private pain unfold as public entertainment. I turned off my phone and went to bed. 6 weeks after the wedding was canceled, I received a thick manila envelope. It arrived at my office, addressed in handwriting. I recognized immediately Marcus's precise architectural lettering, the kind he used for project labels, from Marcus Sterling. I stared at it for a long moment, my assistant hovering nearby. "Want me to screen it?" Mia offered. "Could be more legal stuff. Number, I'll handle it." I took it to my office, closed the door, and sat at my desk with the envelope in front of me. I could throw it away unopened. Probably should throw it away unopened. Our legal agreement stipulated no contact except through lawyers. But curiosity, that persistent, dangerous thing, made me reach for my letter opener. Inside was a 20-page handwritten letter, each page covered in Marcus's neat script, only occasionally interrupted by crossed outwards or ink blots where his hand had paused too long. I took a deep breath and began to read. "My dearest Charlotte, this is the 67th time I've written to you. The first 66 times I didn't have the courage to send it, because I knew I wasn't worthy to confide anything to you. But today is the day we were supposed to get married. Sitting here on the lawn of Rosewood Gardens, our chosen wedding venue, looking at the empty white archway, I finally realize what I've lost. Charlotte, what I lost wasn't a wedding, a wife, or a relationship. What I lost was the only person in this world who truly loved me, truly understood me, and truly wanted to spend their life with me." I stopped reading, my hands tightening on the paper. He didn't understand. Even now, he didn't understand. I hadn't truly understood him. I'd understood a fiction he'd presented, a character he'd played. But I kept reading. You know what? After you left, I finally had the courage to do something I should have done 3 years ago. I made an appointment with a therapist. The doctor said I suffer from a psychological state called limerence, a morbid fantasy-based infatuation. It is completely different from true love. The object of limerence is usually someone unattainable. Because of distance and unrequited love, we idealize the other person in our minds, giving them a perfect image. True love, however, is a deep affection built on real interaction, mutual understanding, and shared life. Charlotte, my feelings for Vivian were limerence. That wasn't love. It was a psychological illusion, an excuse for me to avoid real feelings. And my feelings for you. It took me 3 years to realize that my feelings for you were true love. I wanted to stop reading, to throw the letter away, to not let his words have any power over me. But I couldn't stop. It was when you brought me late, night snacks when I worked overtime. It was you who quietly stayed by my side after I argued with my parents. It was you who remembered all my habits. How I liked my blankets folded, how much sugar I liked in my coffee, how I unconsciously bit my pen when I was stressed. It was you who took time off work to care for me when I was sick, encouraged me when I was down, and reminded me to be humble when I was proud. Charlotte, this is love. These details I overlooked are the truly precious things. And like a fool, clinging to an illusion, I almost destroyed the most precious gift in my life. Me vision blurred. I blinked hard, refusing to cry. I know it is too late to say this. I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. But Charlotte, if time could turn back, if God gave me another chance, I would delete that blog without hesitation. I would cherish you wholeheartedly, and I would make you the happiest woman in the world. Unfortunately, life doesn't offer what-ifs. Charlotte, I want you to know, losing you is the biggest regret of my life. And leaving me was the best decision you ever made. You deserve someone better, someone who has always put you first in their heart, someone who loves you naturally without needing to try or learn. I will spend the rest of my life regretting, reflecting, and becoming a better person, even though that better person will never have the chance to be with you. Please be happy, Charlotte. 100 times, 1,000 times happier than when you were with me. This is my final blessing to you, my only wish. Forever regretful. Marcus, I finished reading the letter. My fingers gently tracing the edge of the paper, feeling the slight indentations where his pen had pressed deep. To be honest, a ripple did stir in my heart. But only a ripple, because this letter came too late. If he had realized all this 3 years ago, if he had noticed something was wrong when he wrote his first blog post, if he had recognized his obsession with Vivian was pathological when we got engaged, then we might really be on the lawn of Rosewood Gardens now, exchanging rings and becoming husband and wife. But he didn't. He chose to wallow in his own fantasies, choosing to plan our future together while reminiscing about Vivian's past. He chose the fantasy over the reality, the ghost over the living woman standing in front of him. And I was not a tool for him to heal or improve himself. I am a complete, independent person, worthy of being loved wholeheartedly from the very beginning. Not after therapy, not after a breakdown, not after loss taught him the value of what he'd had. I deserved to be chosen first, not figured out eventually. I folded the letter carefully, placed it in an envelope, and locked it in the deepest drawer of my filing cabinet. This was my last encounter with Marcus Sterling's words. Whatever happened to him next, wherever his journey of self-improvement led, it would be without me. I had my own journey to begin.